What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here. Today we're going to talk about OTF, or out the front automatic knives. The one that I'm going to use as an example today is called the Lightning OTF, and many people will be familiar with it. Let's go ahead and open it up here. The actuator switch is on the top. It is dual action. Slide it forward to deploy, slide it back to retract. So that's how that works. Nothing new, nothing nobody's nothing people online have never seen before. Two reasons I'm showing this one. One, I no longer own a Microtech. I traded it a while back. And number two, this is another knife that is owned by a employee at the dealership that I work at, and he's had it for 3 years. I want to kind of use this as an example because the Lightning OTF, being as inexpensive as it is for an out-the-front automatic knife, does have a reputation for being actually fairly dependable, considering it only costs between, I don't know, I think they run $30 to $45 still. So I want to kind of show this one off here, and real quick I want to talk about pricing and what to realistically expect with this being more of a dark horse in the category. So straightforward, a high quality American made out the front automatic knife, if it's the real deal, it's probably going to run you $200 plus, and $200 is kind of the beginning of the price point on the really high quality ones. I'm referring mostly to Microtech. If you go check out their combat Troodons, those are, I want to say, mid 400s. Your Scarabs, mid to high 500s, and of course your Halo 5s, which are single action. Gosh, they probably run close to $600 now. So those are the real deal. If you are purchasing an out-the-front automatic knife for less than $100, it is likely not made in the United States. It is likely not made with premium materials, and really mystery materials for that matter, which this is. I don't even know what the handles are made out of. I have no idea what the blade is made out of. I have no idea if this is a DLC coating or if it's paint or whatever. This clearly resembles a Microtech Scarab. There's no doubt in my mind that this is what they were going for with this knife. So that's where they went with it. But you know, I don't generally make purchases like this. But when I purchased my Combat Troodon, I loved it. I thought it was really cool. You know, it's an out the front automatic knife. Mine was double edged. I realized after playing with it for a little bit that I couldn't carry it, even though they are legal in Kansas here. I didn't want to deploy that in front of people. There's very few people that are comfortable seeing that kind of thing deployed, and it was also really expensive. So, like many who make a purchase like that, they don't want to take that out and use it. This one had, you know, two obvious reasons not to use it. So I ended up doing a little bit of research and buying one of these a long time ago. And great, because then I get the satisfaction of deploying it and playing with it. And I did carry that, and it still left a negative impression on people whenever I'd use it. So I barely ever took it out of my pocket. But I felt a lot better carrying that thing around. My impression of it, regardless of what the internet said at the time, was that it was cheap and it would eventually fall apart, and whatever, it was 35 bucks. Casey at work saw mine and said, you know, that's really cool, how much is it? And I told him the price, and he said, you know what, I'm going to get one. So he did, and this is his. I asked him about it just yesterday, and I said, do you still have it? And he said, yeah. And he handed it over to me, and this has clearly been used for 3 years. Casey, I don't know if you're going to watch this video, but I have to assume that you haven't really done anything as far as maintenance with this, which is great because this gives me a good opportunity to show it here. or to give people an idea of what to realistically expect from it. And this is an oddball for multiple reasons. You know, one, it's an OTF. Two, it's a cheap OTF. And three, somehow it actually, you know, is still working. I was really kind of shocked by that. I mean, you can see here, and I'll tell you right now, the edge is dull. And that's to be expected with a you know, lower quality blade steel. But whatever, it can be resharpened. He's got, you know, paint coming off of the scales here and all over the place. Pocket clip's got scratches all over it, but it's held up. But I mean, look at this. Seriously, 3 years old, no problem. I'm really impressed. You know, I'm not all for everybody going out and spending a whole bunch of money on Chinese knives, but there's a lot of people out there who can't afford $500 or $550 for a Microtech Scarab. And if you really want one of these, then I gotta say, you know, this Lightning OTF is actually a pretty good buy if you have to have an OTF. And let's be real about these, okay? These aren't even the really high quality ones, even the ones that run $400, $500, $600. These are not hard use knives. You know, even with the most premium materials that you can get in these OTFs, they're not hard use knives. They scare people. They're generally viewed as weapons. And, you know, like this one, you can hear that blade play. That's common. In fact, I think there's only one out there, one that was reviewed by Jim Skelton maybe, that doesn't have blade play. And I don't even want to know what that runs, but that's to be expected. So I love Microtech. I think they do make a premium product, and if you really want the real deal, if you really want the separation between your common low end and your premium high end, then I think Microtech's the way to go. But understand that this is really more of a novelty, even if in its most professional form, or a toy, and that'll make people mad. But seriously, this is more of a toy than anything else. It's more of a conversation piece than anything else. There's no, I mean, I hear people say stuff all the time about, you know, well, that split second of quicker deployment, you know, can mean the difference between life and death, excuse me. That's absurd to me. That number one, someone thinks that the time between getting it out of your pocket and deploying it is really any different than even a manual flipper or folding knife that you can deploy with a thumb. It's really, in all honesty, it's the same amount of time. And number two, life and death, you know, how often are people actually having to defend themselves with folding knives? Let me tell you, it's not often. There is a statistic out there. I remember reading about it on Blade Forums. It's unbelievably low. Like, not, I mean, it's not a circumstance really where you'd need to consider that. I really don't think knives, for the most part, should ever really be considered weapons. I mean, I guess self-defense, I guess so, but really that's not what this channel is about. I just want to be clear and open about what these are. There are many. In fact, most folding knife choices, cheap, mid-range, or high-end, are going to be a better choice in terms of utility knife than this. But I gotta hand it to this little Lightning. This thing is really tough and really resilient. And the fact in this case that it does have a cheaper steel makes it easier to sharpen. I mean, I have no idea what this is, but it's got to be pretty soft. But you can sharpen it up and it'll cut, you know. These retract straight into the handle. This one does rub, and the other ones I've seen rub. You can see right there on the blade where it's been rubbing. Right here, as it retracts and goes back in. Even when it's out, it's not perfectly straight. It's hard to tell here. You've got 6 screws on this side, some jimping, I guess, or some sort of texturing up top. And you've got a very simple yet functional pocket clip on this side. So really simple construction on the outside. On the inside, you know, there's two springs, one that fires it and one that retracts it. And that's how that works. But I don't know. These are not legal everywhere. In fact, I think they're for the most part. I think Kansas is one of the few places where you can carry this legally, though. You'll always, even if you are carrying it in a place where it's legal, you'll always have that person, you know, say, hey, can you cut this? You flip that out or fire that out, and they say, that's a switchblade, that's illegal. That's gonna happen no matter what. I mean, that's just the general consensus on these things, is that they're illegal and they're weapons, and you know, you're a specific type of person if you're gonna carry that. So, you know, not everybody is gonna think that it's cool. Just bear that in mind. And seriously, don't buy this. Don't buy one of these thinking that you have some sort of advantage in utility over another knife because it deploys this way, because you really cannot use this thing super hard. There is an amount of pressure that you shouldn't apply to this blade. Let me also point out that these, you know, switchblades, most people know this by now because it's all over online. You can't just hold one of these up to something and fire it and expect it to go through that material. That's just not, that's not going to be how that works. So let me demonstrate it here. I'm going to use my, one of the cards on my keychain here. Okay, unfortunately, this is the only thing I have within reach, but I'm just going to fire it into this card. You see that? That's what happens. This is just thin plastic. So it derails. And then you just pull it out to here. See where it stops? Pull it a little harder and it clicks, and then it's reset. I still wouldn't fire it into my skin. You know, you're definitely going to probably draw blood. Honestly, probably the most powerful ones out there are the ones that are single action, like the Halo 5, where it's just one big spring that's primed and fires it forward. But again, I mean, unless you're just thinking of it as a weapon, why would you need it to do that? They're novelties. They're not ultra utilitarian tools. They're fun. They do have a convenience about them, and they're neat. And if you are on a budget and you just want one, you want something to have around the house or you know, throw in a drawer or something, I think this is great for that. Just to have in a junk drawer around the house, like inside your house, and you're just going to use it for little things. I think in that sense it's perfect. Because he's clearly just thrown this thing in a drawer, not cleaned it, not done anything with it, and I'm sure there's tons and tons of gunk inside of there. Honestly, I'm sure there's tons of it in there, and it still fires, no problem. So yeah, I got to hand it to this little thing. It certainly has held up, and I know that the other less expensive models out there, and there's tons of them, are notorious for failures or misfires. I've had this thing, I've been carrying it just for a day, just to play with it and make sure that it was what I thought it was, that it was still functioning the way I thought it was, and it hasn't misfired at all. So that's pretty cool. So if you were curious what a Lightning looks like after 3 years of being used, this is what it looks like. Oh yeah, these two little holes back here, these are drainage holes, to my understanding, so if liquid or anything gets in there, or if you fill it full of oil, I guess it can drain back out. As per Microtech, I believe they recommend REM oil for this, or like a Teflon-based oil is what they use I think REM oil is what they use in their factory. So if you are going to get one of these and you're going to actually try and take care of it and maintain it, I think REM oil is probably the way to go for that. So I don't know, you know, take this for what it is. I wanted to get one OTF on this channel, I think I really enjoy showing knives that have actually been used, so that I can demonstrate what they look like and whether or not they still function. I think this is a great example. And as many of you probably have noticed, if you have been watching, this is the first video I've done where I'm not trying to hold the camera. with my hand. I have this really awkward setup. I'm not going to go into detail about it, but it is, my phone is stationary, and I've actually got a way to, I've got both hands free where I can talk about these and show them without shaking everything around. So still not the best lighting, but anyways, I'll try to do these like this from now on, unless for any reason people don't like this. I hope you guys enjoyed. Every time I do one of these videos, I watch it once and then I realize I left stuff out, or I misspoke, or I used the wrong terminology. And I just want to point out again, I do not take myself so seriously that I think that everything that I say is set in stone, and neither should you guys, because really I'm just a collector. I use some knives, and I have a general idea of what is higher quality versus lower quality, and that's about it. I'm not a professional in any other aspect, or in any aspect really at all. So I just want to make sure people know that, and you are welcome to correct me or point out when I say something, or when I use an incorrect terminology or something like that. Please do, because I don't want to keep saying the wrong thing over and over and over again if I don't know what I'm talking about. So anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. If you are a current subscriber, thank you so much for staying with me. I really appreciate that. I love seeing new likes and more views on my videos every day. If you are new to this channel and you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and check out my other content. And if you enjoy all of it, then subscribe, because it makes my day. Even if I only get one subscriber every 2 or 3 days, it really does make my day. So I will be uploading more content on a regular basis, so stay tuned and have a great rest of the day.